The morning sun cast long shadows across the Seoul Defense Command Center as Colonel Park Jin-soo watched the impossible unfold on his screens. 7 massive vessels, each the size of a small city, had appeared at the edge of Earth's solar system 3 days ago. Their crystalline hulls caught starlight like prisms, beautiful and alien against the black of space. "Sir, we're receiving another transmission," reported Lieutenant Kim Nari, her fingers dancing across the communication console. The universal translator hummed to life, converting the melodious alien language into crisp Korean. "Greetings, children of Earth. We are the Valtor representatives of the Galactic Harmony. We come bearing gifts of knowledge and friendship." The aliens who appeared on screen were breathtaking tall, ethereal beings with skin that seemed to glow with inner light. Their smiles were warm, inviting, almost paternal. Commander Yoon Dae-ho, the lead Valtor diplomat, spread his arms wide in a gesture of welcome. "Your species has reached the threshold of galactic citizenship," he continued, his voice carrying notes of genuine joy. "We offer you membership in our Grand Confederation, where suffering ends and prosperity begins." Park Jin-soo felt his stomach tighten despite the hopeful words. 20 years of military service had taught him to distrust anything that seemed too good to be true. But around him, staff watched with wonder as the Valtor displayed holographic images of gleaming cities floating in space, medical devices that could cure any disease, and ships that could travel between stars in just days. Colonel whispered, "Major Lee Kung-hwa, his second in command. They're showing us technologies we can barely dream of. Free energy, perfect medicine, faster than light travel." The alien commander continued his presentation with smooth confidence. "We have watched your species for some time now. You have shown great promise, great potential. Wars have taught you strength. Your struggles have made you ready for the next step." On the screens, more images appeared. Humans working alongside beautiful alien beings in laboratories that looked like crystal palaces. Children playing in parks where trees grew upside down and flowers sang with musical voices. Cities where no one was poor, no one was sick, no one was afraid. "We ask for nothing in return," Commander Yoon Dae-ho said, his glowing features radiating kindness. "Only that you trust us. Only that you let us help you become everything you were meant to be." The communication ended, leaving the command center. In stunned silence, Park Jin-soo stared at the dark screens, his mind racing. Everything the aliens had shown them was everything humanity had ever wanted. No more hunger, no more war, no more death from disease. It was paradise offered on a silver plate. "Sir," Lieutenant Kim Nari said softly, "the president is calling. All world leaders are gathering for an emergency meeting." Park Jin-soo nodded. Slowly, he knew what would happen next. The politicians would see the same images his staff had seen. They would hear the same promises. They would want to believe, just as his own people did. But something felt wrong. In all his years of service, Park Jin-soo had learned to trust his instincts. They had saved his life more times than he could count. And right now, those instincts were screaming warnings he couldn't ignore. "Nari," he said quietly, "I want you to run a full analysis of everything we just saw. Check every detail, every image, every word. Look for anything that doesn't match up." The young lieutenant looked confused. "Sir, what are we looking for?" "I don't know yet," Park Jin-soo replied, his eyes fixed on the alien ships floating peacefully at the edge of their solar system. "But something about this feels like a trap." Over the next few hours, news of the alien arrivals spread across Earth like wildfire. The Valtor had sent similar messages to every major government, every news network, every leader they could find. The response was exactly what Park Jin-soo had expected. Hope bloomed like flowers after rain. Stock markets soared as people imagined unlimited energy and perfect health. Religious leaders debated whether the aliens were angels or demons. Scientists begged for the chance to study alien technology. Children drew pictures of the glowing beings and hung them on classroom walls. But in the Seoul Defense Command Center, Park Jin-soo continued to watch and wait. His years of experience had taught him that enemies often came wearing friendly faces. The most dangerous predators were those that looked harmless until it was too late to run. "Sir," Lieutenant Kim Nari. Reported, the analysis is complete. Everything checks out. The aliens' technology appears genuine. Their offers seem sincere. There's no evidence of deception in their communications. Park Jin-soo nodded, but his frown deepened. And yet something still feels wrong. Keep monitoring them. Want to know everything about these Valter before we make any decisions. The sun set over Seoul. The 7 alien ships continued their patient wait at the edge of the solar system. Their crystalline hulls caught the last rays of sunlight, beautiful and mysterious against the growing darkness of space. To most of humanity, they looked like salvation arriving at last, but Park Jin-soo couldn't shake the feeling that they looked more like hunters waiting for their prey to come closer. 3 weeks into the cultural exchange, Dr. Han Minji found herself working late in the linguistic analysis lab aboard the Valter ship called Harmonious Dawn. The alien database she could access contained thousands of languages from across the galaxy, much more fascinating than the last. It was during her study of the Cathari language family that she first noticed something strange. "This doesn't make sense," she said quietly, pulling up comparison charts on her screen. According to the Velter historical records, the Cathari had been elevated to higher existence 200 years ago. But the language samples showed changes. That should have taken thousands of years to develop. Lieutenant Lee Sungmin, a research assistant, looked up from his own work. "What's wrong, Doctor? The timeline doesn't match." "Look at this." She put her findings on the wall display. The Cathari language shows signs of artificial speed-up, as if they were given advanced ideas before their natural language development could support them. Working through the night, Mingi began checking other elevated species. The pattern was always the same: rapid technological advancement followed by language stagnation, and complete silence in the galactic records. Truth began to emerge like a photograph developing in chemical baths. The Valter weren't helpful guides. They were farmers, and thinking species were their crop. Her blood ran cold as she accessed deeper files, protected by codes she managed to crack using techniques the Veltor themselves had taught her. The galactic harmony was a harvesting operation spanning thousands of years. Species were found, welcomed, given just enough technology to speed up their development, then systematically stripped of everything valuable: genetic material, cultural knowledge, their smartest minds, and their natural resources. The files contained harvest reports on 47 species. Each followed the same pattern: first contact, integration period, then complete extraction. The survivors were left on empty worlds, their civilizations collapsed, their populations reduced to basic survival levels. And now it was Earth's turn. Minji's hands shook as she copied the data to a secure drive. She had perhaps days before the harvest began, maybe less. The Valtor's gentle smiles suddenly took on a dark meaning in her memory. They weren't expressions. A friendship, but practiced predatory grins designed to make prey feel safe. She had to warn Earth. But first she had to survive long enough to get the message home. The laboratory felt different now. Soft blue lighting that had seemed so peaceful before now felt cold and threatening. The gentle hum of alien technology that had fascinated her for weeks now sounded like the buzzing of insects. Preparing to feed, Minji looked around the lab with new eyes. Everything was too perfect, too clean, too designed to make humans feel comfortable. The chairs were exactly the right height for human bodies. The air was kept at exactly the right temperature. Even the food dispensers provided meals that tasted like home cooking. They'd been studying humans for a long time, learning their preferences, their weaknesses, their desires, to make the harvest easier. She thought about her colleagues. Back on the ship, Dr. Kim Woo-jin was in the medical bay, amazed by alien healing technology. Professor Park Sang-ho was in the engineering section, learning about their power systems. Dr. Eugenia was in the botanical gardens, studying plants that could grow in any environment. All of them were being studied in return. The Valta were mapping human biology, human psychology, human knowledge. They were learning everything they needed to know to extract the maximum value from humanity. Minji's fingers flew across the keyboard as she accessed more files. The scale of the operation was staggering. The Vaulter had been harvesting species. For over 10,000 years, they had refined their methods to a perfect science. They knew exactly how to approach each species, what to offer them, how to make them trust, and they were very good at it. The files showed species after species falling for the same trap. The Zaldari, who had been master engineers, reduced to primitive tool users, after their best minds were taken. The Nethrin, who had been poets and philosophers, left with no written language after their culture was harvested. The Corvin, who had been explorers and dreamers, now lived in caves on a world stripped of all resources. Each species had believed they were special. Each had thought they were being chosen for greatness. Each had walked willingly into the trap. Just like humanity was doing now, Minji heard footsteps in the corridor outside. Her heart raced as she quickly closed the files and tried to look busy with her regular work. The door opened, and Commander Yundeho entered, his luminescent skin glowing softly in the dim light. "Dr. Han," he said with his warm smile, "you work very late. This is dedication to learning that we admire." "The languages are fascinating," Minji replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "I lose track of time when I'm studying them." "Yes, languages tell us much about a species' development," the commander agreed. "They show us how a people think, how they grow, how they... change." There was something in his tone that made Minji's skin crawl. The way he said change sounded like he was thinking about something else entirely. "I should get some rest," she said, standing up from her workstation, of course. "Sleep well, Dr. Han. Tomorrow will be a very important day for human-Velta relations." As Minji left the laboratory, she could feel the commander's eyes following her.
Ow.
She walked calmly to her quarters, but inside, she was screaming. She had to get word to Earth. She had to warn them before it was too late. But first, they had to figure out how to survive the night. The warning came too late by mere hours, as Dr. Han Minji's encrypted message reached Earth's defense networks. The Valter Harvest fleet was already moving into position. What had appeared to be 7 diplomatic vessels suddenly split apart, each one revealing itself as a collection of smaller ships held together by projection fields. Major Choi Hunhua was commanding the defense station above. Luna won the first. Harvest ships descended toward Earth's major population centers. His screens lit up with impossible readings. The alien vessels were generating some kind of neural dampening field that was making civilians in the target zones docile and compliant. "Sir, we're getting reports from Seoul, Tokyo, and London," reported Sergeant Ogiwan, her voice tight with barely controlled panic. "People are just walking toward the alien ships. They're not resisting at all." Hyunwoo watched the feeds from the surface in horror. In Seoul, thousands of people walked calmly through the streets toward massive alien craft that had landed in the city center. Their faces were blank, peaceful, as if they were sleepwalking. Parents carried their children. Students left their schools. Workers abandoned their offices. It's all moving in the same direction with the same empty smiles. "It's some kind of mind control," he said through gritted teeth. "They're herding people like cattle." The same scene was playing out in every major city. On Earth, the Velter had planned this perfectly. Their harvest ships landed simultaneously across the globe, each one generating the neural field that made humans docile and easy to collect. But the Valter had made a critical miscalculation. They had observed humanity during peacetime, studying their diplomatic and cultural representatives. Dated, they had seen Earth's tendency toward negotiation and cooperation. What they had failed to properly assess was humanity's response to existential threat. The first sign of resistance came from the most unexpected place. In Seoul, an old woman named Mrs. Kim refused to walk toward the alien ship. She stood in the middle of the street, holding her grandson's hand while the neural field washed over her. Her face showed strain as she fought against the alien influence. She said in a voice that cracked with effort, "I lived through war. I know what evil looks like when it smiles." Her resistance seemed to create a ripple effect. Other elderly people began to slow their march toward the ships. Veterans of past conflicts shook their heads as if waking from a dream. People who had survived hardship found the strength to resist. The neural field worked best on those who had never faced real danger. But humanity was full of people who had learned to recognize predators, even when they wore friendly faces. Captain Nam Yoonji, commanding the destroyer Incheon, was the first military officer to open fire. Her ship's primitive kinetic weapons shouldn't have been able to penetrate Valter shielding. But the aliens had never faced an opponent desperate enough to ram their ships at full speed while detonating their own reactors. All hands, prepare. For ramming speed, she announced over the ship's communication system, "We're going to show these aliens what happens when you threaten our families." The Incheon accelerated toward the nearest harvest ship, its crew knowing they were flying to their deaths. But as they approached the alien vessel, something unexpected happened. The Valter shields, designed to deflect energy weapons and small projectiles, couldn't handle the massive kinetic impact of an entire destroyer traveling at maximum velocity. The alien ship's hull cracked like an eggshell. The neural dampening field flickered and died. On the surface below, thousands of people suddenly stopped walking and looked around in confusion. What's happening? A businessman in Tokyo asked his wife, realizing they were standing in the middle of a street they had never seen before. Where are our children? A mother in London screamed, seeing her kids climbing aboard an alien transport. The spell was broken. Humanity woke up. What followed was unlike anything the Valter had ever encountered in their thousands of years of harvesting. Species had fought briefly when their neural conditioning failed, then surrendered when they realized the hopelessness of their situation. But humans didn't surrender. They got angry. In Seoul, construction workers grabbed plasma torches and began cutting into the alien landing craft. In New York, police officers organized civilians into evacuation groups while firing everything they had at the harvest ships. In Mumbai, ordinary citizens threw Molotov cocktails at alien soldiers who had never faced such primitive but effective weapons. The Valter had studied human technology and found it inferior. They had analyzed human psychology and found it manageable. But they had never encountered human fury. Major Choi Hoon-hwa watched from his command station as reports flooded in from around the world. Every major city was now a battlefield. The aliens had superior technology, but they were facing an enemy that refused to be reasonable. "Sir," Sergeant Ogun reported, "the alien command ship is trying to communicate." Commander Yoon Dae-ho appeared on the screen, his luminescent features no longer warm and welcoming. His perfect smile had been replaced by something that looked almost like fear. "This is unnecessary violence," he said, his melodious voice now carrying an edge of desperation. "Cease your resistance. We offer you a painless transition to a higher state of existence." "We've seen your higher state," Hyun-woo replied. "We choose to stay human." The battle for Earth's survival had begun. The Valter had expected to harvest another compliant species. Instead, they had awakened something they had never encountered before. They had awakened human wrath, 6 months into what historians would later call the Harvest War. Humanity had transformed from prey into predator. Dr. Kim Tae-young, formerly a quantum physicist at Seoul National University, now led the adaptation project from a hidden facility beneath the Korean mountains. Around him, greatest scientific minds of Earth worked with desperate intensity to reverse engineer captured Veltor technology. "We've cracked their power distribution system," announced Dr. Shin Yaji, holding up a crystalline component that pulsed with inner light. Their entire technological base relies on organic neural networks. They literally grow their technology rather than building it. The implications were staggering. The Velter had become so dependent on their biotechnological systems that they had lost the ability to innovate under pressure. Their weapons, their ships, even their tactical systems were all grown rather than designed, making them beautiful but inflexible. Humanity, by contrast, had spent its entire existence adapting, improvising, and overcoming. Every challenge in human history had been met with new solutions, new weapons, new strategies. The Vulture's greatest advantage, their advanced technology, became their greatest weakness when faced with an opponent who could learn and adapt faster than they could grow new systems. "Look at this," Dr. Kim said, pointing to a holographic display showing the internal structure of a Valter weapon. "It's like a living organism. It has organs, blood vessels, even something like a brain. But it can't change its basic design. It's locked into its genetic pattern. Dr. Shin nodded excitedly. That's why they were so confused when we started using their own weapons against them. They never expected anyone to modify their technology because they can't modify it themselves. The breakthrough had come 3 months earlier when a team of human engineers had captured a damaged Velter scout ship. Instead of trying to repair it according to its original design, they had started cutting it apart and rebuilding it with human technology grafted onto the alien biodash systems. The result was a hybrid monstrosity that looked like a nightmare, but worked better than either pure human or pure Velter technology. The aliens' bioneural networks provided incredible processing power, while human mechanical engineering provided the flexibility and adaptability the organic systems lacked. We're not just copying their technology, explained Dr. Park Min-soo, the project's chief engineer. We're violating it. We're forcing it to do things it was never grown to do. The first hybrid weapons had been crude and unreliable. But humans had centuries of experience making imperfect tools work through determination and ingenuity. Weeks. They had created weapons that could penetrate Velter shields by literally eating through them with modified alien biosystems. The war had changed dramatically. What had started as a desperate defense against superior technology had become a hunt. Human ships, now equipped with hybrid weapons and shields, were actively seeking out Velter vessels to capture or destroy. Colonel Lee Yeho commanded one of the new hybrid warships, the Soul Avenger. His crew was a mix of former military personnel and civilian volunteers who had learned to operate alien technology through trial and error. Target acquired, reported his tactical officer, Lieutenant Kim Sahi. It's a Veltor harvester, probably trying to escape to the outer system. Not today, Yeho replied grimly. All weapons, fire. The hybrid weapons struck the alien ship like a plague. The bioneural viruses that human scientists had developed began eating through the Velter's living hull, turning their own technology against them. The alien vessel's shields flickered and died as its biosystems became confused and turned inward. They're trying to surrender, Sahi reported. No surrender, Yeho said coldly. They showed no mercy to the 47 species they harvested. They get none from us. The alien ship exploded in a burst of bioluminescent fire. Another predator eliminated. But the real victory was happening in laboratories around the world. Human scientists were not just copying Velter technology, they were improving it. They were creating weapons and defenses that the aliens had never imagined because they had never needed to imagine them. Dr. Yu. Gina had discovered how to make Velter bioneural networks accept human brain patterns. This allowed human pilots to interface directly with alien ships, controlling them with thought alone. The aliens had never developed such interfaces because their neural dampening fields made other species passive. They had never needed to fight an opponent who could think as fast as they could. We're not just winning, Dr. Kim told the assembled scientists. We're evolving. This war is making us stronger, smarter, more dangerous. The Velter created the perfect enemy by trying to harvest us. The truth was even more disturbing. Humanity had always been a species that thrived on conflict. Every major advance in human history had come from war, competition, or the need to overcome obstacles. The Velter's attack hadn't weakened humanity yet, had given them the greatest challenge they had ever faced, and humans loved challenges. In the outer system, the remaining Velter fleet tried to regroup. Commander Yoon Daeho, once confident and serene, now looked haggard and desperate. His luminescent skin had lost its glow, and his perfect features were marked by something his species had rarely experienced: fear. They're not behaving like the other species, he reported to his superiors. They're not just defending themselves, they're hunting us. They're learning from every encounter and becoming more dangerous. The response from the Velter High Command was swift and terrible. If humanity couldn't be harvested, they would be destroyed. Every Velter ship in the sector was ordered to converge on Earth for a final, overwhelming assault. But as the alien fleet gathered for what they thought would be humanity's destruction, they didn't realize that they were walking into a trap. Earth's fury was about to be unleashed on a scale that would shake the entire galaxy. The final confrontation came not in Earth's skies, but in the void between Jupiter and Saturn, where the Veltor had established their primary harvesting station. Admiral Park Jin-soo, now commanding the United Earth Fleet, watched as his mixed formation of human and captured Valterra vessels moved into attack position. Beside him on the bridge of the battleship Seoul, Dr. Kim Tae-young monitored the bioneural warfare systems they had developed. All ships, this is Admiral Park. Today we end this. The Valter command ship Eternal Harmony hung in space like a crystal cathedral, beautiful and serene. Commander Yoon Dae-ho's final transmission carried none of his species' practiced warmth. "You do not understand what you are destroying." His voice echoed across the communication channels. "The Harmony has brought order to the galaxy for 10,000 years. Without us, chaos will return." "Then let chaos come," Park replied. "Senior order, we choose chaos." The battle began with a sight that would have been impossible just months earlier. Human ships, grafted with alien biotechnology, moved alongside captured Veltor vessels that had been converted to serve Earth's fleet. The hybrid vessels looked like mechanical nightmares, but they were humanity's greatest achievement. Initiating VIRAL attack protocols, Dr. Kim announced. His fingers danced across controls that were part human engineering and part alien bioneural interface. Their own technology is about to become their worst enemy. The first wave of human weapons struck, the Veltor formation. But these weren't ordinary missiles or energy beams. They were bioneural viruses, designed to infiltrate and corrupt the alien ship's living systems. The Valter vessels began to convulse as their own biotechnology turned against them. "Sir, their shields are fluctuating," reported Captain Nam. "Yoonji now commanding the hybrid cruiser engine rising. The viral programs are working. Their ships are getting confused." Admiral Park watched with grim satisfaction as the alien formation began to break apart. The Valter had spent 10,000 years perfecting their biotechnology, making it more efficient and more beautiful. But they had never imagined that anyone would be savage enough to turn their living ships into weapons of self-destruction. "Target their command vessel," Park ordered. "Let's finish this." The Seoul and her escort ships converged on the Eternal Harmony. The massive alien vessel tried to defend itself, but its bioneural networks were already compromised. Its own harvest beams, designed to extract biological material from conquered worlds, began turning inward, tearing apart the ship from within. Commander Yoon Dae-ho appeared on the communication screen one final time. His luminescent skin had turned gray. His perfect features were twisted with something his species had rarely experienced. "Despair. You have doomed the galaxy," he said, his voice breaking. "Tsk. Without the Harmony, there will be war, suffering, chaos. We brought peace to the stars." "You brought slavery," Admiral Park replied coldly. "You harvested 47 species and called it peace. That ends now." The Eternal Harmony exploded in a burst of bioluminescent fire that lit up the void between the planets. With it died the last of the Veltor command structure. The remaining alien ships began to flee in panic. But the real victory came when Dr. Han Minji's team activated the communication array they had built into the captured command node. Across the galaxy, her message reached 47 broken species in their own languages. "This is Earth. The Valtor have been defeated. You are not alone. We are coming." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Species that had been silent for centuries suddenly filled the communication channels with voices of disbelief, hope, and desperate gratitude. The Qatari, reduced to primitive tool users, sent crude radio signals. The Nethran, who had lost their written language, transmitted simple mathematical sequences. The Corvin, living in caves on their stripped world, managed to send a single word: hope. Dr. Han Minji, now Earth's first galactic ambassador, listened to the voices with tears streaming down her face. "They're all still there," she whispered. "All 47 species. They survived." "Then we have work to do," Admiral Park said. watching the last of the Valter fleet disappear into the darkness between stars. We need to reach them, help them rebuild, make sure this never happens again.
Ow.
In the months that followed, Earth's hybrid fleet began the long journey to the scattered survivors of the Valtor harvesting. They found species that had been waiting centuries for someone to show them that resistance was possible. The Zaldari, once master engineers, wept when human ships arrived with tools and knowledge to rebuild their ruined cities. The Nethrin poets and philosophers, reduced to silence, began composing new works when Earth's linguists helped them recover their lost language. The Corvin explorers and dreamers looked up at the stars again with hope instead of fear. But humanity brought more than just aid. They brought a new philosophy that shocked the galaxy. Instead of domination or harvest, they offered partnership. Instead of order through control, they proposed freedom through cooperation. The Terran coalition that emerged from humanity's fury became something the galaxy had never seen. A voluntary alliance of species committed to ensuring that no one would ever again mistake predation for friendship. Dr. Kim Taeyong, now head of the coalition's technology division, often reflected on the irony. The Voltor came to harvest our potential, he told his mixed team of human and alien scientists. Instead, they unleashed something they never expected. They taught us that the galaxy was dangerous. Now we're teaching the galaxy how to be dangerous back. The Valter had greeted 47 species with smiles and promises of peace. But when they tried the same approach on humanity, they discovered that some prey fights back. And when humans fight back, they don't just survive, they make sure the predators never hunt again. The galaxy would never be the same. The age of easy harvesting was over. The age of cooperation had begun. It's built on the foundation of Earth's fury and protected by humanity's refusal to let anyone else suffer as they had almost suffered. The Velter's greatest mistake had been their last mistake. They had awakened something in humanity that would echo across the stars for generations to come. The absolute determination to turn victims into protectors and prey into predators.